I was standing at the altar, looking into the eyes of a man I thought I knew, Julian. We were in the middle of our vows, that quiet, sacred moment where you can hear a pin drop in the cathedral. I'd just finished telling him he was my home, and he started talking about our future, our forever. Then his pocket started buzzing. Usually, you'd expect a standard chime, but Julian forgot to silence his phone. A song blared through the church, something loud, spicy, and completely inappropriate for a wedding. Every guest turned to stare. Julian's face went from romantic to ghostly white in 3 seconds. He fumbled with his pocket, but I recognized that specific song. It was a custom ringtone I'd heard on his phone once before. He'd told me it was a spam number, but you don't assign that music to a telemarketer. I didn't finish the vows. I grabbed my train and walked straight off that altar, Julian chasing me into the church lobby with both of our families following like a confused stampede. I demanded to see the phone. He held it to his chest, pleading with me to just get through the ceremony. Then his mother pushed through the crowd and tried to cover for him, saying it was just a cousin calling from overseas. I knew she was lying. I called the number back on speakerphone. A woman answered. Her name was Elena. She didn't sound angry, she sounded exhausted. She told me she wasn't calling to be a bridesmaid. She was calling because Julian hadn't sent the child support for their 5-year-old son in 2 months. The lobby went dead silent. I'd been with this man for 3 years, and I never knew he had a child, let alone that he was still occasionally seeing the mother. I was still wearing my wedding gown when my maid of honor, Maya, drove me to a 24-hour diner. I sat in a vinyl booth, mascara running down my face, eating pancakes while the waitress just kept the coffee coming. Maya asked me what I needed. I told her I needed to know how I missed it. But looking back, the signs were there. The late-night work calls, the way his mother always looked at me with pity instead of love. They all knew. I finished my breakfast, walked out into the gravel parking lot, and looked at the white lace I'd spent months choosing. I told Maya right then, I'm taking this off and I'm never looking back. The week after was a blur of cancellations. The venue, the caterer, the florist, every call felt like a tiny funeral for a life I'd imagined. I found out I was losing $12,000 in non-refundable deposits because of Julian's lies. He tried to text me, calling it a misunderstanding, saying he was just scared to tell me the truth. I didn't answer. I hired a lawyer instead. I found out Julian had been siphoning money from our joint Redding account to pay off debts he'd hidden from me. My family stood around me like a fortress, blocking his mother's desperate calls for reconciliation. There is no reconciling with a man who builds a life out of paper-thin lies. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my own apartment. It's small, and the walls are a deep blue, a color Julian always told me was too much. I have 3 plants on my windowsill that I actually remember to water. I took a pottery class. I even went on a date with a guy who actually keeps his phone face up on the table. The wedding that didn't happen was the best gift I ever received. It didn't just end a relationship, it saved me from a lifetime of being second best to a secret. Now, when my phone rings, I don't feel a pit in my stomach. I just answer it, because I have nothing left to hide.